What is going on today, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Jay. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for checking me out. I really appreciate it. And to all my subscribers out there, you guys rock. 2 thumbs up. Really appreciate it. Love you guys. All right, so I thought today we might take a little glimpse into the process by which I use to write new material, to write songs, how I come up with a fresh idea. We're going to check out this passage here, see what you think, and then afterwards we're going to break it down real slow and show you how to play it. Roll it. Alright, so I'm going to break it down for you nice and slow here. My guitar is currently tuned to drop C sharp, which is essentially all the strings are a half step down, and the low E is an additional full step below that. So it's basically drop D, another semitone down. It's not necessary for you to do that. You can play this in standard tuning, that's fine. And for the purposes of explaining it all, we are in the key of C sharp minor, essentially. Tonally, it's going to sound like C minor here, but it's C sharp minor on your fretboard, starting on the 4th fret on the A string. So, without further ado, let's start into it now. Now, if you didn't already know, I have a penchant for using add 9 chords quite frequently, probably too much. I like them. What can I tell you? So it's basically you've got your root note, your 5th for your power chord, and then your add 9 is essentially an octave higher than the 2nd note. Right? So you've got this. And I like using those because they're not atonal, I should say, but they don't really fall into one particular key. You can kind of mix and match them all over the place, you can make them work all over the fretboard. So I was just tinkering around one day and I came up with these 7 notes here. It was just, and I thought, that sounds cool. What can it resolve to, or what can it go to next? And then obviously A major just seemed to fall into place there. So oftentimes you'll hear stuff like that, right? Stuff like that. So I go through this passage, I think a total of 5 times before you get into the heavy chords. So we're just going to walk through it now, nice and slow, starting with that first 7 notes. So it's some palm muted notes, and then a little vibrato on that 7th note. Then we drop down to the A major chord. So what I'm doing there is we're arpeggiating the A major chord, adding a few extra notes, and then I'm toggling between the G and the B strings with my first finger on the 2nd fret here. Then lastly, I'm throwing in that 1-2 note, that little dissonant genty sound. So let me play through the full section there so you get a sense of the timing of it. So that's one time through. And each successive time, I throw in some micro variations in the middle of it and then the ending couple of notes. So I'll show you those as we get to them. So the second time through, I'm going. So I'm doing this nice little gritty slide here, 4th fret to the 6th fret on the D string. And then that last note, I'm sliding from 9 to 11. And then back down to the A major. So I'm just mixing up, like I said, little variations each time through. Makes an otherwise simple passage sound a little different, a little more melodic as you go through it. So you're not writing a ton of notes or a ton of chord progression here. It's just 2 chords with some different melody, slightly different melody each time through. So again, that second passage is this all together. All right, third time through, we're going to add a hammer on and some more slides. So it's... Okay, so I'm going... I'm hammering on, and then I'm hitting that same note one more time for a slide. So I'm going... Then we do a palm mute on the root note 3 times. Landing with your pinky on the third. Then I'm jumping to just an A power chord. You can play it down here. I play it up here for economy of motion. So basically I'm setting myself up for my next couple of notes, which are right here. So it's just easier if I do the one finger, three strings here. And then that nice little haunting sound there. It's now when I do that slide from 9 to 14 on the G string, you might think you'd want to clamp up on the string to make sure you hit the slide perfectly. But, it's just too tight. I don't like the feel of that. So for me, I'm kind of like slingshotting my finger. I'm kind of almost doing one of these deals. So I keep my hand really loose on the fretboard here. So I'm going. And then that last note on the 13th fret, I'm doing one of those little Steve Vai vibratos, which is that circular motion. Because, an ordinary vibrato on a guitar is just up and down, right? And then on stringed instruments that don't have frets, such as a violin, for instance, they'll use a forward and backward motion for their vibrato. So what Steve Vai kind of came up with, and something I taught myself early on when I first started playing guitar, watching him, was to kind of incorporate both together, and you just end up doing a circular motion on your vibrato. It might be something to work on, on its own. Just pick a note and just mess around with it for a little while. Just circular. It's a more even, a fuller sounding vibrato. I've gotten used to doing it, so I incorporate it without even thinking about it. But I'm doing one of those, but I'm doing it really fast too, because you don't have a lot of time in that note. It's one of those deals. And then, so that's third time through. Fourth time through the passage, we're going. This time, instead of previously in the very first run, I go up. This time I'm going. Get a little grit on it. It can be a harmonic if you want it to, and just kind of dig into that slide a little before the beat, so you have a microsecond or two to kind of give it some grit and a little bit of vibrato on that too. And then back to the A major chord again. Now remember, the first time we got to those couple of notes, I was bouncing between these 2 notes. The second time around, I was bouncing between these 2 notes, which are both B notes. I'm just doing it on 2 strings at the same time. And then this time we're going. Okay, and then the very last time through the whole sequence is this. Okay, so this time around I go. trying to hit 2 harmonic notes there. First I'm trying to hit the harmonic slide on the G string. Which is kind of tough to get, but you know, if you can get it, you get it. And then a little just kind of up and down run here. It's just... So again, we're still going to the A major chord, but this time instead of using one finger, I'm using the traditional, you know, variant. And then we're going A major to A sus. And then I'm dropping the flat 5 there, so. Crank up the volume, and then we get into the big fat chords here. So back to the C sharp minor, it's just the power chord. And the fill notes are A major. And then I'm just throwing in a B power chord there. Hit it once or twice, or so I ran through it a couple times, but really in my little version of it, I'm doing it twice, and then I'll show you what the fill is. So it's... So I go through it twice. I do the little, that thing again. Then the next 2 times, it's a little different. So instead of going, I chose basically the same notes an octave lower. It's kind of like this. And then I'm dropping to the A. Throwing that little flat 5 there for a little added flavor. And then I'll do a full B major chord there this time. And here it sounds like this. And then that last few notes was just a way to kind of wrap it up. So I'm like, harmonic minor, why not, you know? So it's just all down picked because I kind of want to just emphasize all those last few notes. So it's pretty much a simple exercise or a simple little melody, but those little variations in there are just kind of what I use to when I'm fleshing out a song, you know, and trying to get a nice melody going. So here we go from the start. That's it. That's all I wrote so far. But that's a little glimpse through the window into the methods I use sometimes for writing some new material. You know, you're inspired by something in your life, something good or bad that's happening, and you know, you just have a feeling and emotion, and you put a few notes to it, you put a melody or a chord progression to it. So for me, usually I come up with some kind of a piece of melody first, and then just kind of build upon that. So in this case, it was just those 7 basic notes. They're as basic as it gets, you know. Let me play it a little louder. I started off with that, and it became all of what it is now. One thing I would recommend, though, is if you're kind of a newer guitar player, is try throwing in some of these techniques that you're maybe not too comfortable with yet, because I think when you put them in context of a melody or some kind of a song that you're playing or writing, I think you'll find that you're going to get through the technique a little bit easier than if you just focus on that one thing. So if you're just sitting there trying to get a harmonic, for instance, right? It's going to take a while to get it, but if you're just playing the tune, you know, it's just going to hit. I mean, I don't know what it is, but for some reason our mind kind of just, it jumps past the obstacle. So you kind of see through the obstacle of a new technique or a new challenge if you're just playing it in context of something that's a larger, you know, larger scope or more notes, essentially. Same thing with slides and bends and vibrato and all that stuff. Just mix it in sparingly, you know, instead of just going, it could be, just add a little flavor to it, right? Mix it up, make it fun. Yeah, so that's all I've got for you guys for today. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Until next time, see ya! A little bonus piece here is essentially when I get the song all fleshed out and kind of completed, I'm gonna have it come to a climax at the end, which is kind of like, you know, like a dream theater type thing. So like it just kind of builds upon itself, and then that final portion of the song is just like where everything comes together. The drums and the bass are just going at it, you know, double time. And I would kind of do an outro thing with a crazy outro solo on top of this. So it would be essentially. Right? Can you hear like a crazy, just, you know, all over the fretboard, crazy solo on top of that? I think that would be sick.